let's go ahead and get started by welcoming in Mr. Pixel. I guess the first thing to ask would just simply be, where did the username come from? Why Mr. Pixel Padlock?
A bit of a story behind that. Originally, I thought Pixel Progress would be a really funny name, kind of a play on uh, my ability as a beginner Kaizo player. But that name was taken on Twitch, and I thought, let's kind of come up with a more unique name that's not only going to be available on Twitch, but be available everywhere. Uh, so that turned into like, okay, it's so hard to. It's easy to do this like analysis to paralysis sort of thing when you're trying to come up with something because you want to come up with something perfect.
Oh yeah.
But perfection is kind of an unattainable goal anywhere you try and apply it. So I just took things like clocks and padlocks. Those are two things that I like. I like kind of small machines that can work under their own power. And I came up with Pad Clock, which is a
Really?
terrible name, um, and it doesn't roll off the tongue at all. So then started thinking about like used pizza and noble tofu.
Oh wow.
Streamers like that, like they're just taking two random words and
Right.
slamming them together. So I took Pixel from the original and Padlock from the second, and kind of enjoyed the alliteration. So I said, "This is it. We're going for it, and we're committing, even if it's dumb."
I it's funny. It's kind of like one of those things that when you first meet somebody and they tell you your name, you're just like, okay. And then sometimes you hear the name, you're like, I just, you don't look like a Kevin, or something like that. Uh, but then
Do you think
after
I
you,
look like a padlock?
well, that's what I was going to say, but when you get to know them, um, after you get to know them a little bit, you just can't imagine them being anyone else. Like, uh, you being Mr. Pixel Padlock, I could not imagine you being the Pad Clock or um, just anything else. Like I said, it just sounds funny to think of that being a different name than who we know you as. Um,
Yeah.
and you named off a couple of people that kind of helped you come up with a name. Um, or just like you said, kind of putting two random words together. Uh, Kind of when you started streaming, who or kind of what made you want to start being a streamer?
Wow. I'm not sure that there is a who. I can tell you like the streamers that I watched early on. I was a fan of like Mitch Flower Power and Grand Pooh Bear, um, Barbarous King. You know the big names out there. I've been wanting to stream for a long time though. It's been a long time. Probably hmm, 12 years ago. I think I went through a short period of unemployment, and I was considering just changing careers entirely. And I thought, people stream like that's a viable choice.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but at the time, I didn't really have anything that could set me apart. Like at that time, I was playing games that I enjoyed to play. I was playing Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, God of War, and I would be one of a million identical streamers in an ocean of streamers. So like, there's nothing that's really going to set me apart. And I understood that like building a like following that would actually take the place of a full-time job would take years to do, and I
Right.
didn't have that kind of time to do it. So that just got put on the back burner, and but it never went away. Like I'm like, and the realization is like it's never going to replace a full-time job. Like I'm a realist. It's a hobby, and that's all it's ever going to be. Um, but I still wanted to do it. So the first time I really saw Kaizo, I was like, yeah, this is something. Or as I started to get into Kaizo a little bit more, and gain a little skill at it, I thought, hey, this is something that sets me apart. There isn't an there's a lot of Kaizo players out there, but there's not an ocean of Kaizo players out there.
Right.
Um, yeah, so that's kind of your answer. Like when I discovered Kaizo is when I was like, Let's pull the trigger on this."
Well, that kind of leads me into the my next question. Of course, we have got a little history. I've watched you uh, a good bit. You were the my most watched streamer of 2025. Um,
Aw,
so obviously, I do know that you play a lot of Kaizo very well, actually, despite what you may say. Uh, but kind
modesty is a virtue.
of, how did you get what got you into Kaizo? How did you find out about Kaizo? Like that's not really a triple A game announcement during the Super Bowl. You're going to hear about it. So
That's true, and it's a good question. Um, I was a big Mario World fan when I was a teenager, but as with any game, you play it and then you put it down and then it's done. You might come back to it once or twice. You might come back to it after a decade just for nostalgia. But um, and that's kind of what I did. I got 96 exits and I was out. And um, I think I was looking for Mega Man 2 content online one day, and that led me to AGDQ. And I started watching like Castlevania speed runs. I'm like, oh, these are all games that I know from my past, and I enjoy watching people play them quickly. And eventually landed on, I think Dram 55 was playing the original, like the OG uh, Kaizo Mario World, and I was like, this is nothing I've ever seen before. So I started looking a little bit more into Kaizo, and I think that led me to Grand Pooh Bear, who is kind of a shell guy, as you know. And shell jumps just won me over immediately. I was like, I'm going home. I'm downloading some of these games, and we're going to try and do shell jumps. So that's really kind of what led me to Kaizo.
gotcha. So what you said that you saw them playing the original Kaizo world. What when you got into Kaizo, do you happen to remember what your first hack you played was?
The original Kaizo Mario World.
Okay.
I played it for hours and hours and hours. I don't think I ever beat the first level. Um, the first one I beat, though, which is probably more interesting, I think was one called Toad Kaizo Land,
Okay.
which at the time was an intermediate hack. I didn't know that. I just read the comments, and the comments said it was very easy. So I attacked it. I save stated the heck out of it, but I got to the end.
What was probably the hardest hack that you've ever gotten through to you anyway? I mean, I realize they have a rating system, but
They
anybody that knows
do.
much about it, sometimes we don't agree with the rating, and sometimes certain things are a lot harder for somebody than it is someone else. So it may not be necessarily the highest difficulty hack that you've beaten, but what was probably the one that gave you the hardest time to beat?
Yeah, and yeah, the rating system is it's recently changed, as you know, and I definitely understand like how it's still kind of an organic thing. It's still growing. It's still uh, finding out how to um, it, as accurately as it can identify the difficulty of games. Um, but the most difficult game that I personally have ever played uh, would be Blackout.exe by Baldridge. That game's hard, like legit hard. And I mean, I've played some games that I had to stop because there was just like a deal breaker level. Like you'd get a few exits into a game, and then there's a cape level out of nowhere, and I don't know how to cape. Well, I mean, at the time, but you set it down and you come back to it. Blackout's not like that. Blackout is legit hard all the way through. It's easy to read. It's easy to know what to do. It's very difficult to execute, and And that one sticks out in my mind in particular because there's a level in that hack called Green Shell Zone. Now, I love shells. I'm a shell guy.
Right.
Um, but Green Shell Zone, it pushed me to my limit. Like I didn't go back and look at how much time I actually spent on that level. I probably should someday, but I know it was over 20 hours, spanning 4 or 5 streams. I spent a lot of time on one level. That was by far the hardest hack I've ever played.
Yeah, I've heard you reference that one a few times in your streams, and that level in particular. Um, yeah, I remember watching you play some of that, and yeah, there was no way, still no way, I probably could play Blackout. That one, yeah, I agree. That's definitely a tough one.
Oh, you could. You just got to throw 20 hours at
Yeah, per
it.
level.
No,
Um,
I nearly cried when I was finished with that level. I was so, so happy.
I've almost cried a few times at some of these levels, but so far I've managed to hold it in. But so that was your hardest to you anyway hack that you've ever managed to get. Is there a hack which I know you just recently had your 200 follower special difficulty hack? You beat Invictus. You know, I know that was. You know, I remember hearing you say in your stream that that was a kind of goalpost hack for you when you started because that was kind of the new thing, and you remembered what seeing people that was new playing it and having you know difficulty thinking that one day you would like to be able to beat that one. But now Invictus is in your rear view. Is there
Hmm.
another goalpost hack that has replaced Invictus in your crosshairs that one day you would also like to knock out?
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good question. Baron is definitely up there. It's not one that I'm going to tackle right away because I feel like I would need a little bit more practice and a little bit more experience before I can get there. But Baron of Shell is on that list. Invictus was like the new hard thing when I really started getting interested in Kaizo, and it was one that I just immediately shelved. I watched people playing it, and I said, "This is too hard for my skill level right now, but maybe someday." So it became this rite of passage hack, which is essentially what you just said. Uh, but there's others, like when Baron came out and when Grand Poo World 3 came out. It's like, yeah, not right now, but maybe someday. So I think I don't know that I'll ever go back to Grand Poo World 1, but I'd like to do 2 and 3. And I'd really like to do Baron.
Yeah, I've also seen a little footage of Baron, and yeah, that. And what's crazy to me is to see some people that are like they're speed running Baron, and I'm like, there's no way I could ever even beat this hack the first time, and you got people out here speed running these things. I'm like, wow. Can you
I
say
think you just need to
feeling
go into it.
inadequate?
I really do think you just need to go into it with the right expectation and say, like, I'm not going to sit down for a 2 hour stream and knock out 4 or 5 exits. You know, it's going to take a long time. And that I kind of have trouble with that sometimes. I feel like if I spend too long on one level, then people are going to get bored. Um, but sometimes you just have to accept reality that this is going to take a long time.
Talking about those kind of hacks, and I know you said that you said Bald Ridge made that blackout one that was really tough for you. Um, do you have kind of a, and this might not to put anybody else to shame by asking this, and you can, if it makes you feel better, you could have a couple of answers to go with this one. But do you have kind of a favorite hack creator? Like, is there one that if you go to SMW Central and you see their name, it's like a, all right, I got to play this one.
There's an immense amount of talent in the SMW ROM hacking community. So like I probably won't remember everybody uh, that's a go-to, but there are names that stand out. Like if I go to SMW Central and just look at latest Kaizo hacks, if I see a Sapphiros hack there, it's like that's the next one on the list. It gets bumped right up to the top.
Yeah, he's great.
FNB. I usually know when Bald Ridge has got something cooking because he tells me about it. But Bald Ridge is another excellent ROM hack creator. Um, Jordan did one of the earliest hacks I ever beat was called Orcus by Jordan, and I went back and I've played everything that Jordan has made, and he's another really go to. Like if he drops one, then it's at the top of the list. Um, Gosh, RZ Rider, he makes really hard stuff, but it's really fun. Inflagrandi, I'm slacking off. Random type. Slopcore makes a lot of beginner hacks, so definitely worth a look if you're like a more beginner player. But yeah, there's a lot of names out there, a lot of good talent.
And speaking of, I know you was just playtesting for Mr. Bald, and you got your was that your first shout out that you know of that you have shown up in, or are there any other ones?
That's my first shout out room. Yeah, uh, that was another kind of emotional moment when I ran across that. Um, I didn't expect it at all, and it was it was kind of nice. I didn't know what to say then. I don't know what to say now, honestly, other than, I appreciate the attention and the shout out. My I've had my name in a couple hacks before, but that was my first shout out room.
Gotcha. Do you remember which one your first name appeared in?
I think it was Sweet Shell, just in the credits as a playtester. But I
Oh,
do remember I was really excited when I saw that too. As I finished it, I paused the game right there, took a photo, and sent it to my wife at work. I'm like, "You'll never guess."
I didn't realize you were a playtester for Sweet Show.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I've play tested a few games. I probably couldn't list them right now, but I've play tested a few.
Talking about the different hacks and things, like I said, you said earlier that you're a big shell guy. Um, with I know that with shell hacks and shell tricks, some people looking at you FNB get crazy with the ideas for shell tricks. Um, is there one out there that like when you come across it in a hack, you're instantly kind of happy because that's like yes, you like shells, you like the traditional shell jump, but in a shell hack, if you see a trick, you're like, oh, I like doing this one. Is there any of those that kind of stick out in your mind?
Hmm. Well, you're coming up with some good questions here, Bill. Um, I do remember this isn't a direct answer to your question, but I do remember playing in MFC, which was a FNB Jordan collaboration, and there there was a level that started out just like a normal platformer, but the second half of it just went hard on shells, and I was pretty excited about that. I was like, "Oh, this is turning into a full on shell level," and really happy about that. But as far as a trick, like a particular shell trick, and this might sound a little weird, but I'm almost excited when I come across a backdrop anymore. Now that's a trick where you have to jump out, turn around, drop a shell, like intentionally drop rather than kick, and then let go of the jump button so you fall fast into it to bump it into a direction and like bump it into the wall that you just jumped off of to get a little extra distance or get underneath the wall. It's a very difficult jump, um, but it's difficult, and it's like right in that skill pocket for me where I can do it, but it's very difficult, and I just I get that dopamine hit when you get that trick. So I kind of like seeing that one.
Yeah, I've seen that in a hack or two. I don't. I think I've done it maybe once. It was probably on accident when I did. But yeah, that tracks. I could see that something difficult like that being the one that you're like, ooh.
Yeah, and with stuff like that, like as you encounter it and it's very difficult, and then you learn, you just kind of learn the inputs, you start gaining that muscle memory. It you kind of get a little proud of yourself, and you want to do it more because it's like, hey, this is this really hard thing that I know how to do. I want to do it more. I was the same way with double shell jumps. There was an
Oh,
optional level in Orcus that had an unassisted double shell jump, and I spent a long time trying to get it. But once you hit it, it's almost like riding a bike. You know, something clicks in your brain, and you're like, "Oh, I know how to do this now." And now I want to do them all over the place.
not everyone has that click. I I
I've
had
seen you do double shell jumps, Vil. You're too modest.
I get lucky a lot when I play Kaizo. I'm as surprised as anybody watching when I pull off tricks. I'm like, hey, that worked. Um, so that one that's kind of one of your go-to enjoyable things. What about your dislike? Like if you're playing a hack, you start a level or maybe even make it through the level a little ways, and then you come across this trick or I don't know, maybe like a ASM, even like some people take the base game and tweak the actual way the game plays. Like one of them I've thought about was that I actually enjoy is there's a few levels out there where Mario gets a giant pistol that he can shoot, and it kind of launches him all over the place. Um,
Mm,
I kind of like that gimmick, but I'm
I
sure
do
there's
too.
people out there that probably are, like, no, they shouldn't do that. That's terrible. I hate levels with that. Is there anything like that for you that if you're playing a level and come across something and then you're like, oh,
Oh
this is in this
no.
this hack? Is there anything like that that comes to mind?
Yeah, and everyone has different sensibilities, so that answer is going to be different for everyone. Um, there's there's fewer of those as time goes on. Once upon a time, if I came across a um, like a multi-key jump where you had to key jump multiple times to get over a wall, and then needed to keep the key over the wall. I'm like, all right, well, I'm stuck here for a little while. You know, this is going to take a long time. But over time, you know, you encounter these things more, and you you get adequate at them, and they go into your toolkit. Throwing a spring at a wall and then jumping off the spring to get additional height is another one of those ones that used to stop me dead in my tracks. But anymore, it takes me a few tries, but it's doable. But yeah, I mean, you do that stuff enough, and you get used to it. So there's not a lot of just general Kaizo tricks that make me groan and grumble. Um, but you did mention ASM, and there's a lot of ASM. I approach ASM, or a lot of people to call it, you know, chocolate mechanics, chocolate because it's not vanilla,
And we all like
which I
chocolate.
never understood anyway because I don't understand how chocolate and vanilla are opposites, but that's like a totally different rant, right?
True.
Um,
Yeah, I don't know that I thought about that, but you're right. Who decided that chocolate was
yeah,
the
they're just
other
different
end of
flavors. I'm like,
vanilla?
why not throw strawberry in there? Where does that one land? But um, y- yeah, like I always approach ASM as like, okay, this is new. This is new. It might be based on something else, but it is new, and I have to figure out how to learn it. Um, Great example of that would be in Bald's new. And Bald actually created his own new block, and it's a donut block that you pick up and you throw it at a wall, and it becomes a donut, and then you can stand on it, and it'll drop after a second or so. It's You just kind of, when you encounter something like that and you haven't encountered it before, you got to play with it. You got to learn the rules, and you got to learn, you know, what can I do with this, what can't I do with it. So it's just a little bit of a learning curve. Um, Now, having said that, I can't stand double jump. All right, just throwing it out there. I
I mean,
can't.
you're a padlock. Doing a single jump has to be pretty difficult.
Oh yeah, yeah. Without legs, it's tough. Um, but yeah, there's a mechanic in Kaizo, and you know all about it. But for anyone who doesn't, regrabbing is where when you if you hold jump and hold the jump button, you will get a full height jump. If you let go of the jump button before you're at full height, you will stop ascending and start to descend, and then you can re-grab that jump button after letting it go, and you'll fall a little bit slower. And you can do this to control the height of your jump and the length of your jump. It's a very very common thing in Kaizo. It's used all over the place. It's a ubiquitous Kaizo move.
Right.
So, if pressing the jump button when you're not on the ground causes you to jump again, it just shatters my world. I do not like double jump.
Yeah, because it is completely, opposite of muscle memory that you had.
Right. It just breaks everything, and you just kind of have to relearn how to play the entire game for this one level. I'm not a fan of double jump.
What about, so you're talking about just jump, jump, like there's nothing else there. What about when some of these hacks have, it's, I guess, not technically a double jump, but it's like the coin re jumps or whatever you might want to call that. What about those?
Right. Oh, okay. Complete opposite opinion. Love the coin jump.
Really?
Yes, I love it.
You like having to pay for your jumps?
Oh no, we're talking about different things. Are you talking about like it subtracts a coin when you jump?
Oh, I forgot that was a thing as well. No, I think we were thinking of the same one. I was talking about the ones that you just like
Where you
you're
just
in, you're
collect a coin and it makes you jump?
yeah, you hit the coin and boing, you jump again.
Yeah, I love that mechanic.
But
I think I've just been um I think I've just been fortunate because every game I've ever played with that mechanic has been really really well designed and fun. I can't remember the name of the game right now, but there's one I played where it was well designed where you would collect a coin or throw a shell at a coin block to jump at the right time, and then at the end of the level you'd throw a shell that bounced in between two coin blocks, so it just shot you up to the ceiling and you rode on the ceiling until you got to the goal. And I thought that was the coolest ending.
that is cool. Yeah, I think I've encountered that mechanic once or twice, but not a lot. Usually they just seems like most of the hacks, at least that I've played or really even seen. Usually it's just a double jump. You don't get the coin re jump thing very often. So we know that Kaizo is kind of your bread and butter. I know that you have streamed a few things, very rarely at different times. But in your time of playing Kaizo, I know that Kaizo is not your typical, you know, AAA game or something like that. It doesn't have a huge following. Most people, if you told them that you like watching Kaizo, they would have no clue what that even means. Um, but even in something as niche as Kaizo, a lot of times there are like unique challenges or records or something that people go for or that they do. I think of stuff like doing speed runs or deathless runs or other games that do the blindfold challenge, try to beat the game literally blindfolded. Is there anything like that for Kaizo that you have done or hope to do?
I've done a little speed running. I've got some times on the leaderboards for Super Sigma World and Sweet Shell. Beyond that, the challenges like the deathless, hitless, pacifist, blindfolded, all just the really difficult personal challenge stuff. I don't really have any desire to do anything like that. There's just such a huge body of content, Kaizo content out there to play normally, that I
Right.
will probably never work through it. So, but that's not to say that my mind won't change in the future. You know, sometimes people will settle into a game and they'll be like, okay, this is my game, and I'm gonna just play it every different which way that I can think of, and try and find the fastest way to the end. Try and break it. Try and you never know. You never know what the future holds.
You said you did hold a couple of places, or were in the leaderboards for a couple of the speed running hacks. I think you left out one little detail about where you sit on the leaderboard currently for those couple hacks.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was the number one position in Sweet World, but Smoky Wolf took that away from me. I plan on taking it back, but I know that's not what you're talking about.
No, I don't know what you're getting at.
No, in Super Sigma World, which is the other game that I run, and in order to run a game, like it's got to be a game I enjoy. It's got to be a game that I want to go back to over and over and over again. Both Super Sigma World and Sweet Shell are FNB games, and I really had to think about that one before I said it. FNB games, and um, they're both fun, and I go back to them over and over and over again. So they're easy. Just add a timer, you're speed running, and yeah, Sigma World was one that you went back to, and I, even though I wasn't trying to, which actually makes it sound worse. Yeah, I took first place on Super Sigma World.
Yeah,
Um,
you beat me without even trying.
that didn't come out the way I wanted it to. I'm sorry,
It's
but
not wrong.
that's the fun of this though. Like play it, take it back,
Oh yeah.
and it's that's the one thing that is really cool in the speedrunning community, and even more so in the Super Mario Brothers community, is that there's a high level of competition, but it's not super adversarial. It's very
Right.
friendly competition. You routinely see somebody take a very difficult world record, and the former world record publicly congratulate them. It's like it's very supportive,
Yeah, I
very
think of like
supportive.
the ninja races. I've played the last I think three of them that they had, but when you jump in someone else's stream that's doing a ninja race, which has never been my issue of having a better time than them. But if you did, they're like, if you told them you run ninja, they'd ask you, well, what's your time? And you tell them, and if it's like blows their time out of the water, there is no like oh well you came here to gloat, or you just it's never adversarial, it's never anger at oh how you do better than me, I hate you, it's a really great
It's
community because
the
they're like,
exact
man, that is
opposite.
great, tell me how you did that, I need pointers. It's
Yeah. That's exactly what I was just about to say. It's the exact opposite. If somebody comes in and they see an area where you could improve, they'll share that with you. They'll say, "Hey, you can save time if you do XYZ this, differently." So yeah, it's a very supportive community.
so what, talking about the doing the speed runs, something I really actually I don't know a whole lot about, but I do know that it is a thing. Uh, the GDQs, people will do these kind of um, speed running event type things, and a lot of times it's also for charity. Have you ever done one of those? Have you considered it? Is it anything you think you might would want to try to do?
That's another good one. That's actually kind of going back to goals or milestones. It is something I have never done one, but it is something I would love to do. I'm a big Mega Man fan, um, particularly Mega Man 2, because if for anyone who's ever watched a Mega Man 2 speed run, there's a way to push Mega Man into the wall, and the game tries to force him out of the wall, and it does so very, very quickly. So by doing this trick, they call it a zip. You can navigate levels very fast, and it's very entertaining to watch. So after watching this and after practicing doing it on my own, I got a pretty good Mega Man 2 time, and I thought, yeah, I'm definitely like that game's a game that's played at a super super high level. Like there's no way I could compete with the top players. But I thought, it would be fun to play any game at an event like that. And when it comes to games like Kaizo, I think having Kaizo represented, like even if you're not a world class top player, you could still go to one of these events, run through a Kaizo game that you're comfortable with, and just have representation there, and introduce some Kaizo to a greater audience.
With your streaming, a lot of times things end up showing up in your stream that make sense to you and your community, and they don't really make any sense to anybody else. Um, are there any, like, especially emotes? I've seen that happen a lot. Like you'll get rated by somebody and they use like the most unhinged emote, or just, it may not even look that crazy, but you can, just from looking at it, you can tell, okay, there's some kind of
There's a story.
backstory or something behind this that I'm missing. Do you have any of those kind of like emotes, or maybe references that if you were in somebody else's stream and said it, they wouldn't have a clue what you were saying, but in your own
Oh yeah.
stream, it makes perfect sense and everybody knows what you mean. Have you got any of those kind of stories or little
Oh yeah.
phrases?
Yeah, when I started, getting interested in streaming on Twitch, I kind of, they have that boot camp video series, and one of them was on emotes, and they called emotes the language of Twitch, and I kind of, did my eye roll, like, yeah, right, But the more that I understand about them, the more I kind of understand it is sort of the language of Twitch, because one emote can say a lot. It can tell an entire story, kind of exactly what you're talking about. Um, but specific to my channel, yes, there's one emote. It's called Meat Juice. It's a little T-bone steak. It has the word "juicy" across the bottom, um, and that comes from a story when I was streaming after work one night. My wife Lena was at work, and she works at a grocery store, and she was putting
Okay.
away packaged meat, and I guess one or some of these packages were leaky. So she comes home from work, exasperated, ready to get changed and clean up. And I said, "How was work, darling?" And she said, "Oh, it was awful. I am absolutely covered in meat juice." And my stream is, for the most part, pretty family friendly. I dial way back on the profanity. Just not a lot of profanity, not a lot of explicit conversations. We stay away from divisive topics like politics
Sure.
and religion and things like that. But my audience is kind of heavy on double entendre. That's what she said jokes kind of
Oh yeah.
they pop up pretty frequently, and double entendre is really right in line with my sense of humor. So it's kind of my fault. I kind of lean into that. And when she said I'm covered in meat juice, man, chat just erupted.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. It sounds, even though there's actually nothing inherently, dirty about that, it just has that kind of
right, you can
close
take it to
enough.
so many places. So the very next day, yeah, I make this T-bone steak emote that says juicy, and I get online the next time, uh the viewership chat sees it, and just everything, like, juicy essentially means like that's what she said, or like, ooh, I can take that to a
A
uh,
dirty avenue.
yeah, to a place like that. And I kind of really like it, because you really have to lean into stuff like that to uh and I'm trying to give advice here, like I'm a big shot. I've got like 200 followers on Twitch. Like, nobody knows who I am, um, but I think that that this is the case. If you involve your audience, and you and your audience have like an in joke together, then they're a part of something. They're participating in something, um, and having that allows us to kind of to satiate that need for, like, oh, that's what she said jokes, without overtly being dirty. So like it still sort of allows, people to make those jokes without offending others. And
Right.
then those who are, even those who are in on it may not be as offended. At least I hope I'm not offending anyone. That's not the goal.
But are there any other little stories behind any of the other maybe emotes, or like is there I don't, like I said, some people have certain phrases that only make sense in the context of that person's stream. Do you have anything else other than the little meat juice, or is that, I know that's probably the most standout one, but
It's definitely is the most standout. I've got one called Grumble that some people have kind of
grumble.
glommed onto. Um, it's just a dissatisfied looking padlock. Uh, but it's just based on the fact that a lot of people, and I've done this since before I even started streaming. I've just said the word grumble instead of, you know, monosyllabically grunting or something, like, and it all goes back to The Legend of Zelda for the NES. There's a room in the seventh dungeon that has a moblin, and in order to get past him, you need to feed him some bait. But if you don't have bait, he just says grumble, grumble. And I always
Oh,
thought that was the funniest thing.
I gotcha.
So for years and years and years, I've said that. Oh, grumble, and yeah, I get on stream and people just they like it.
From a, like, I guess, personal streamer standpoint, is there anything that really stands out to you in your memory in your time of streaming, that just, I don't know, maybe it meant the most, or was just something that in your course of streaming that just really really stands out in your mind, like one big thing above anything else, or maybe you've had a couple, just it, is there anything like that for you?
There, yeah, there's been a lot of good moments, several more good than otherwise. You know, sometimes you just have fun. Like you find that like diamond in the rough game that uh, that you just have a great time with. But I do remember one time, and I know you can relate to this, Bill, and it's where sometimes people are often generous. I mean, honestly, if uh if somebody subscribes or cheers with bits or something like that, like in any amount or in any capacity, I consider that being generous because I'm just me playing a game,
Yeah.
and I just happen to be streaming it to the internet. So anybody who even watches is a level of generosity. But sometimes, I don't know, people can feed on one another's energy and it just erupts. I mean, and Twitch has a name for it. They call it a hype train.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
and that has happened to me where, you know, somebody will give some gift subs and somebody else will give some gift subs. And then, and it I don't know, it's a weird feeling. Like you're happy, um, but you also feel a little bit undeserving, and humbled a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Most definitely.
and I know because I was in one of your streams when it happened to you. I know you can relate.
Oh yeah.
Um, but that's probably one of my most memorable moments. Not so much for the subs and the bits, but just like, I felt appreciated. Like it's a weird feeling. It was a good feeling, but it was one that I didn't expect that day. I was totally unprepared for, and I like I even took to Discord afterwards just to say, thank you again, um, because I don't know, it's just so emotionally impactful. I One of the things I hear a lot of people who don't stream say, and I've heard this before I started streaming, and I think completely different of it now when I hear people say it after I started streaming, is somebody will say, "Well, yeah, I enjoy playing video games in my free time. I might as well stream it to Twitch and get paid for it." Yeah, that's not anything. That's not how it works at all.
No, especially, well, it might in time, but it is not going to be a quick thing.
No. It is not how it works at all. Like you're a Twitch streamer before you become affiliate. And you if you want to grow it all, you got to self promote. It's
Right.
not just, hey, I'm playing a video game. Like that is so much more to it than that. And the social experience that comes with it is, I don't know, it's just indescribable. I've met so many cool people. Um, I've forged friendships through streaming. Like it's not just playing video games online.
But that
It's
actually kind of leads me to my next question. I was going to ask you, since we're already talking about that a little bit. Um, do you do you try to grow, like, is there certain things that you do with the intention of growing your follower base or fan base or whatever you would want to call it? Do you do things like that for that intention, or do you just kind of, I don't know, just do the stream for the sake of the stream and put out content because you enjoy the content, and it really, you're not doing anything extra trying to grow, or is there, do you do things for that reason?
yeah. You're touching on, another good point. Um, you can try and grow your following and try and grow your channel, or you can just hit the go live button and play a video game. Like that's the cool thing about streaming, is like there's no real commitment to it. It's whatever level of work you want to put into it is the level that you put in. As far as me, which is more directly answering the question you asked, um, I do try and grow my channel. I don't. I've never paid for any advertising, but I do. The only thing I really do is like put an effort into it, and I don't know if that helps or if that hurts, because I have a certain sense of humor and a certain sensibility that may not be shared by everybody or may not resonate with everybody. Even with me, at times, like every time I pull up my Twitch channel, my channel trailer starts to play, and it goes, "Hi, I'm Pixel Padlock. I first discovered Kaizo back in blah 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 blah." And it's like, oh my gosh, it's so cringy, and I need to redo that. Um, but the reason I did that originally was to, because I didn't see a lot of channels that had an uploaded channel trailer, and I wanted to be different. I started uploading to YouTube because I wanted to grow a following there, and the YouTube following is doing pretty good now. I just crossed 1,000 subscribers on
Oh,
YouTube,
nice.
and now I'm trying to do the same thing with Instagram and Twitch. And not because I want a presence everywhere. I'd really like to centralize in one or maybe two. Like I'd really like to focus on Twitch and YouTube, but there's an audience on Twitch that isn't on YouTube. I mean, there's always going to be some overlap, but there's always going to be an audience over here that's not necessarily over here. And um, maybe this audience is willing to migrate, or if they catch me on Twitch or on TikTok and be like, oh yeah, I see this guy over on Twitch. I know him from TikTok. Um, I am not speaking correctly today. I just said TikTok.
Another new word.
Um, but if they recognize you from another platform, hey, that's another easy follow. So there's there's that. Uh, Editing video into shorts is time consuming. It almost feels like another job sometimes.
So YouTube, do you feel like that's probably been your most successful thing you've tried to grow your audience? For, if we have anybody that is new to streaming that ever watches this, is there, uh, like I said, is that if somebody came to you and asked you, hey Pixel, uh, I really want to try to grow my channel, XYZ, fill in the blank, whichever one. Uh, is there something that you've tried that seems like, when you really gave it an effort, not just kind of an idle, just let it go if it works, but like the last thing you tried that was successful? Is there any pointers or something you could tell somebody to try?
Put content out there consistently. You don't have to dump it out there, but just put content out there consistently. Grow a body of work. And when somebody does discover you and somebody does like you, there will be a body of work for them to go back and watch.
Right.
And uh, and that will happen again and again. And the more it happens, the more that algorithm is going to promote you to other people with similar interests to those who already watch you, which is what it's supposed to do.
We've kind of went over what it is that you know like about streaming. We know you play Kaizo. We know that you do the videos, uh, which by the way, the amount of videos that you put out on a daily basis blows my mind.
It's just three.
Just 3 videos a day. I put them out like when I finally sit down and edit out one of the hacks I've played and get them all uploaded, it'll be like 1 or 2 a week maybe, and you're doing 3 a day.
Oh, it's an
But
assembly line for me. I finish a hack or part of a hack, and then I've got a video. This is what I played tonight. You go in, you hack it up at the markers, once for each level, and then you rewind and find, okay, here's from checkpoint to end, and here's from checkpoint to start. Yeah, I've gotten so fast at it at this point. I can do everything that or I can edit everything that I've done in a night in just an hour or two,
well, let
and
me know
upload
when
it
you
to
decide
YouTube.
your price.
I don't know that I'd want to do that for anyone else. It is time consuming, but once you upload it to YouTube, you can schedule them to come out, which is what I do.
Do you have to go through a period of like getting over the fact of hearing yourself, like just cringing at having to edit your own videos because you had to hear yourself?
Not so much, but I mean, I've got a nasally Midwestern voice, and it sounds even worse on recording when I play it back. And I've just made peace with that. That's how I sound. Um, but some struggles that I did have originally, because there's as with anything, the more you do it, the better you're going to get at it. But when you're first starting, you just make it work. And
Exactly.
I do remember that. Originally, I would record my horizontal stream. I do my vertical stream now because it's already vertical and it's easy. It's already in that shorts format. It's easy. But originally, I was just recording the horizontal, and I was pulling the video into the editor twice and then zooming in on the
Oh,
gameplay
wow.
for the top and zooming in on the padlock for the bottom. And then I'd have to make sure that they were lined up so the sounds lined up to the video and everything like that. And another just weird anecdote: when I was editing Sweet World, um, there was a song in one of the levels, and it might have even been the Overworld because there was a time at which I was including Overworld. But um, uh, there was like a fart sound. That's like, I'll just say it, okay? And I didn't remember making that sound. and but I did not want it in the finished video, and I didn't have separate audio tracks or anything, so I was like cutting out single frames, just so like the content I wanted was there, but you didn't hear that sound. And I mean, I must have spent an hour trying to do this, and then later on down the line, doing the next section, like I hear it again and again and again. It's in the background music.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, I was like super embarrassed. It was like, oh my gosh, that wasn't even me. It was in the background music.
Over an hour trying to take out a bar from the background track.
It was one of those moments where I had to just sit there and take a moment and laugh at myself because you don't know what you don't know. There you go.
Uh,
That's a t-shirt for you. You don't know what you don't know.
if someone was thinking about starting to stream soon, like I'm sure you were like me when very first thought of streaming popped in your head, you weren't hitting go live tomorrow. You probably gave it some thought, planned through some things that you wanted to do. Maybe there were things that when you first started out, you were really thinking it was going to work this way, and it wasn't until you kind of got neck deep in it you realized, oh, this isn't going to work. Um, Anything like that. If somebody was thinking today about, if they told you, hey, Pixel, I'm thinking about starting to be a streamer. What are some of the biggest, you know, points of advice you would give them as to either things that would have helped you first starting out to make your life a lot easier, or maybe some big potholes to avoid to keep from going through some of the pitfalls you had?
Ooh, hey, you really thought of some good questions, Bill.
I
All
tried.
right, so I don't know. I can tell you some of the things that I struggled with, and um, but the advice, just do it. Just get started. I spent so much time thinking about it, thinking about my name, thinking about the layout, thinking about what I would play. Are people gonna like it? And it's like, are people gonna like it? What kind of question is that? If they don't, they won't watch.
Exactly.
I like that's and that's perfectly okay, like we get so caught up in our own heads about doing something new, especially something like streaming, that makes you feel vulnerable. You really are putting yourself out there. But that would probably be the best piece of advice. Just do it. And if you don't like it or you don't have a good experience, at least you know. It's so easy to get intimidated by people that have professional editors, and do have like agents and marketing people, and they've got Elgato capture cards and RGB computers with 4 monitors and Steam or Stream Decks. Like, you don't need any of that stuff. You don't need any of that stuff to go live, and no one expects you to have it on day one.
Or shouldn't
So
anyway.
yeah, you really shouldn't, because if you drop a lot of money on that stuff and then you decide you don't like it, yeah, you kind of out. I think something else just off just popped into my head. Streaming isn't what you think it is. Like we touched on this a little bit earlier about how there's a little bit more behind the scenes than just playing a video game. But um, but I think we talked a little bit more about the work that goes into it. But there's a social aspect to it as well that, they call it parasocial interactions and things. Like a lot of people interacting with the one person that's doing the streaming. But like, I interact, and this is probably a lot to do with the channel size. I can sometimes chat moves a little fast, but for the most part, I can keep up and I can respond to people that make comments and things like that. And because of that social aspect to streaming, um, there's a feeling to it. Like I'm just hanging out on a Saturday morning playing a video game with a few of my friends. Um, and that really is kind of the feel that you get with it, especially since some casual players don't like to be told what to do. That's a There's a term, it's known as backseating,
Mm-hmm.
where you tell the streamer like how to do the level. Some people want to figure it out for themselves, and that's fine. I'm not that smart, so I welcome backseating. So it does become kind of an interactive process. Like somebody in chat will say like, "Hey, why don't you try such and such?" And oh wow, that works a whole lot better. Thank you. It becomes an interactive process, and I really do. I've said it before. I really do feel like I'm just hanging out with my friends playing games. It's and that is something I did not expect when I started streaming.
You may not look at chat a lot while you're playing a level. Uh, chat's
So
trying to
sometimes I do kind of lock in.
chat's trying to tell you, stop jumping off the Yoshi, but You're locked in on what you got going on.
Yeah, well, to that point too, Kaizo's kind of a good platform for streaming because y- you play in quick bursts. You know, you play in individual attempts, and in between those attempts, you can glance over at chat. So you can keep up to date with it. But yeah, sometimes you just really get focused, and you're like, I'm so close, I'm going to beat this, and you focus on the game more so than the chat. But I think that's just something people do.
I do remember some of your older day streams, and there was a particular thing you used to do when you were really about to get serious, like what you were just saying a while ago, when you kind of forget to look at chat. There was a particular thing you would do. I was wondering if you could bring that back so everybody could see a flashback from the old days.
It's a common term in Kaizo to say that you're locked in. Well, I'm a lock, so it's there's a joke to be made there. And one day in chat, like several people in chat kind of collaborated, and they're like, oh, you should um, do like well, I'll just do it and say it's it's getting about time to lock in.
Love the hasp flip. It's just great.
And I don't do it much anymore because it seems like a jinx effect. Every time I do, I just start playing worse. But but yeah, every once in a while they'll bring that back just because it is so cheesy. It's so cheesy, it's so corny, and I love corny humor.
Yeah, like I said, we have fun in your chat, from the very suggestive but not quite dirty jokes to the corny dad puns and things like that. It's always really fun hanging in your streams, Mr. Pixel. I always enjoy it. Always like seeing you live, even if sometimes I don't realize you're live. I'll show up and be like, "Hi," and you're like, "I'm ending stream." I'm like, "Bye." But
I appreciate that. Thank you for saying that.
if you had to kind of summarize your stream to people before they came in, if they were looking for, and I know this is going to be difficult for you to do, but imagine trying to explain your stream to someone else, like promote yourself to them. Like if somebody was looking for a new stream and they're like, yeah, I'm looking for this and this and this, to be a part of, to watch a stream, kind of how would you describe the culture, or the feeling of your streams to someone if they wanted to
Okay.
know what they were getting in for before they clicked the button?
All right. So time for an elevator pitch. Um, I lots of streamers out there streaming Kaizo at all different levels of skill. I'm probably right in the middle. Uh, not quite a beginner anymore, not quite an expert. But I think what would set me apart from others is just the environment. The community there is very welcoming. It's very friendly. It's very welcoming and friendly everywhere in Kaizo, to be fair. Um, but we do we do have fun. There's a lot of double entendre style humor, like we said before. A lot of um, cringy dad jokes and puns. We do a lot of that. Uh, but just a laid back environment, chill environment. That's one thing that a lot of viewers have said is, there's no big pop offs or screaming or anything like that. It's just laid back, and that's what I would say.
And to that
Um,
point, I have to add to that yeah, you I have seen you play levels before, so difficult, get so far in the level, die, have to restart, do it time and time and time again. And like even after you've been at something for over an hour, about the biggest reaction that you managed to ever, or accidentally let slip is just like maybe a go rumble. I mean, that's about as wild as the padlock ever gets. And like you said, that alone, even in my streams, a lot of times I get very grumbly and complaining and aggravated, and but bro, you have got the patience of Job. Like, it is crazy to me. I'm like, and also to that point, I'll be watching you thinking I would have lost my cool right there, and you're still just cool as a cucumber. And I'll be like, look, Mr. Pixel, just save state it, make it easy, just get past this. You're because even when you're crashed out, like you're so done with this. I've
Oh,
seen you play the double jump levels that I know are getting under your skin, but yet you are
yeah.
just as calm as can be. And I'm like, save state, and you're like, no, I can do this. It's
Yeah.
the
Yeah, the
anti
same.
save state king in chat right now.
I'm not anti-save state at all. Like if I'm testing for somebody, I will, because I'm trying to be respectful of their time. But for me, I really do think that like just consistently doing the same thing over and over again uh, does build skill. Um, but that being said, I don't have any problem with anyone else save stating. Like you play how you want to play. The whole point's to have fun. So
Is there any other advice you could give to anybody, like maybe that it's wanting to, if they haven't really looked into Kaizo or they're starting Kaizo, is there somewhere you would tell them to start here, and these are things that would help you the most? Like, uh, I know you play on a Mister. Most of the time, you wouldn't recommend someone go out and buy a Mister just because they're thinking of maybe playing Kaizo, but um, maybe
I
a
wouldn't
hack to
buy a
start
Mister.
with.
I wouldn't buy a Mister just for streaming. Um, I would recommend it to somebody who enjoys classic gaming in general, but to buy one just as a streaming device, I think is a little bit of overkill. That's another really good one because once upon a time, like when I started streaming, there was like, okay, well, you start with Learn to Kaizo, which has kind of been replaced by To Kaizo to Learn, but then you move on to games like Orcus. There was no hand holding in Kaizo. There were very few games that like pick up and play for a beginner. Um, let's see, like Baby Kaizo World was one of the first ones that was just kind of meant for a beginner. Uh, Quickie World was kind of like that. That was another go-to recommendation back in the day. But today, it's an entirely different landscape. You've got so many games that, and they're true Kaizo games. Mario's Pizza Party, Celery, Cute Kaizo World. Like these are all games that a beginner is, will challenge a beginner, but they're absolutely doable, and they're just all over the place anymore. Um, there's so many good ones.
If we do have anybody in chat, this is where we will kind of open it up. If you have any questions for Mr. Pixel, obviously we have certain kind of standards. We're not going to ask him about personal information or anything of that nature. So if you do ask a question, just know that it may not get read. Even if it does, Mr. Pixel obviously has the right to refuse to answer any question. But do any of y'all have a question about Mr. Pixel, of something that maybe we've discussed that you wanted to know more about, or just want to ask him in general? No personal info. What about credit card info?
That's personal finance info.
Different kind of personal. Is there anything you could tell somebody to that might would help them if they were wanting to stream and were getting frustrated at stuff? Like, how do you, when you're having these levels where you're dying over and over again, how do you keep your cool?
I don't know. I, it's just my personality. I don't get too worked up about anything. I mean, I will you know get frustrated and angry just like anybody else. And when I'm not on stream and it's just me and Lena, I might emote a little bit more. But generally, I don't get too worked up about things. I mean, I'm not young. I'm not old. But I'm not young either. I'm 45 years old.
I would not have guessed that.
I've lived long enough to know that you know, little details don't matter in the long run. So when like and to take that to Kaizo, if you're playing a level and you're dying over and over again, it's because Kaizo's hard
Right.
and you're going to die over and over again. That's an inevitability. But you're not trying to go for the lowest number of deaths. You're trying to get to the end, and eventually you will. So yeah, so there.
Just be cool.
Yeah, this isn't golf. You take as long as you need. Just win.
Exactly. Yeah, just stick with it. Uh, Adam did have a question for you. He said, so instead of streaming Mario, he said, this is new. He said, did you have nerves coming into this interview?
Yeah, I'm still nervous. Less than I was at the top of the interview, but yeah, I was sweating bullets going into this.
Oh, yeah. You weren't the only one, but I think this has went pretty well. Mr. Koji
I
says that padlock doesn't look a week over 30.
Thank you, Mr. Koji.
One
Oh
thing
my
I
goodness.
did mean to actually ask you earlier, and I just straight up overlooked it. Um, how long have you been streaming for, Mr. Pixel?
I think it's 2 years in February.
2 years this February. How
Yeah,
long?
it seems longer in some aspects and shorter in others. Like I can't believe it's been 2 years, but then looking back at everything that's happened and all the people I've met and all the things that have the milestones like getting affiliate and everything like that, it seems like it's been longer. But
Do you remember how
um,
long it took you to hit affiliate when you started?
I got affiliate in December of last year, so
A
just
year.
recently signed on to Twitch, and it's like it's your affiliate versary, and I'm like, that's not a word.
Sure it is. It's a Twitch anniversary. We just stick versary on anything after it's been a year. Um, Killbots was asking, and again, like I said, Mr. Pixel, you don't have to answer this if you feel it's going to be too divisive. But
Oh,
Killbots was wondering, who's Pixel's favorite streamer?
favorite streamer, easily far and away, it's Killbots. Um, I no, yeah, Killbots is a streamer too, and yeah, go check him out. He does a lot of Rocket League stuff. It's pretty cool. But no, I don't have a favorite streamer. I can tell you who I watch the most. That's going to be Vil. Like, I mean, it's no secret here. Vil and I are buddies. Um,
For sure.
but like F&B, uh, Splitty, Split Black Ribbon. He's real laid back and chill too. And I don't want to start listing people. There's a lot of people that I enjoy watching. Of course, there's so many streamers and so many good people out there. Like Plasma Snake and Lizard Machine, who is Dupu, Games in Tweed, um, Topaz Tamarind, Shavda. I just didn't I just say I didn't want to start listing people? Yeah, I will stop listing people now. But it's hard to keep up. I mean, you
It
can't
really is.
patronize everybody that you enjoy watching. So I do try and kind of pop around to different people when I see notifications that they've gone live, and at least say hello. Um, let them know that hey, I'm here.
Killbots was wondering if you had as his words, favorite stream moment. I know we talked about earlier, like kind of the things that can happen that really, mean the most to you. But is there any one event or one particular night that stands out above the rest?
I don't know. I might compartmentalize a little bit. I mean, we talked about getting a good hype train going. That's always a good feeling. Um, then there's times like Meat Juice where you just know something was born that night. Like it's not gonna go away and everyone's gonna love. Um, and then there's just fun times, like somebody makes a joke in chat that's really funny and you just like genuinely belly laugh. I remember beating Green Shell Zone. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Like my heart just jumped into my throat and I didn't know what to say. Like that's a moment that I remember and I hold dear. Um, I think though one thing that we didn't talk about was like the first time I got raided, and I think it was First Name Butt that raided me, and he raided me with I think it was like 20 something people. And of course when you get raided, a lot of people like they don't know who you are, they're not going to stick around, and that's just the nature of you know the nature of raiding and how humans behave. Like that's just expected, it's going to happen. But enough people stuck around. It was really really early on too. I wasn't even affiliate yet, and I had like three or four people talking to me in chat, and I was just so beside myself. I was elated. I was just beside myself with excitement. I had to rush out when Lena got home from work and be like, "Oh, I had the most amazing stream! Like, I had 7 people watching me, and like 3 of them were talking, and we were having a conversation. It was amazing. I didn't just have to narrate gameplay for 2 hours."
Didn't have to commentate.
Yeah.
You know what's really really funny that you should say that you said FMB was the very first person to ever raid you. Um, I'm I'm pretty sure I was in that 20. I don't know if that was your very first time to ever be rated, but if memory serves, I do believe it was a FNB raid to you one time. Is actually how I found you, was because I was in the raid when you were rated. Like I said, it may not have been the first one, but that is how I found you. Don't know if I'd
Wow.
ever told you that before.
And the rest is history. But yeah, shout outs to FNB too, because he does a lot to support the community and to support some small channels. Like he was one of the first people to chat to Pixel Padlock. Of course, I think his chat was, "You should play Sweet World."
Yeah, play my hack.
But he's always been super supportive. He's a cool guy.
I know you've been doing this a while. You've had several different raids. There's been days that you had a like maybe a long Saturday stream and would get 3 or 4 raids while you were playing. Do you remember what the largest raid you've ever had is?
72.
72 ending you instantly.
Yeah, it was FNB. And the reason I know so quickly is because on the Twitch channel dashboard, there's an achievements page, kind of gamifies the whole streaming experience, um, and it tells you the largest number of like your largest viewership ever, um, and it's been at 72 for a long time because of that raid. So the raid number may not have been 72, but it bumped me up to a viewership of 72 for a second or two, long enough to count towards that achievement. So that number stares me in the face every time I go to that achievements page.
Oh, and another little interesting fun fact, since you are here and this has been your interview, um, if memory serves, you are actually the one that created the image that I wound up using on my Vilcoin, my channel point coin. Is am
Oh
I
yeah,
remembering that right?
yeah, yeah. I can't remember. You had one already, and then I was like, oh, I can make it look more like a Mario coin. And I sent you something, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna use this." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't mean to snub somebody else. Like, don't feel like you have to do this, you know." uh, but that's just part of putting yourself out there. Sometimes people are gonna like things
And
and
sometimes
roll with
people
them.
will like stuff that you don't understand why they like it.
You're like, "Oh yeah, that's just some thing that I made. Like, why would anyone like that?" But people do.
I appreciate everybody for coming and hanging out today, Mr. Pixel. Again, thank you so much for guest starring, and we are going to
Thank you for
end the
asking.
stream here.
All right. Ooh, everybody.
Y'all take care. I'll see you next time. Stay safe and ooh.